Tonight, Greg Gutfeld teased the kind of bombshell that could crack the Trump dynasty wide open. But before he could drop the hammer, Donald Trump barreled in unannounced, filling the stage with pure menace. The laughter vanished. The air turned thick. What started as a late-night roast became the most brutal, no-holds-barred showdown the network has ever broadcast live. The studio lights were bright and hot, buzzing with that special kind of energy. Greg Gutfeld's show always had a sharp edge, but tonight felt different, thicker, heavier, like the air itself was waiting to crack. The warm-up guy had barely finished his bit when the theme music hit, and Greg strolled out from backstage with that familiar cocky grin plastered across his face. He didn't waste time. He grabbed the mic stand, looked straight into the camera and said, "Folks, tonight we're not messing around. I've got something on the Trump family that's going to make your head spin." The crowd gave a quick burst of nervous laughter, the kind that says they're excited but also a little scared of what's coming. Greg paced the stage slowly, letting the silence build just enough. You think you know everything about Donald Trump's world? The rallies, the tweets, the headlines? Nah. There's stuff nobody talks about, stuff even the tabloids won't touch. He paused, letting his eyes sweep the rows of faces. Tonight, I'm going there. And trust me, when I'm done, a lot of you are going to need a minute to process it. More chuckles, but they sounded tighter now. People shifted in their seats. A few glanced at their neighbors like, is he really going to do this? Greg kept it rolling, dropping little breadcrumbs to hook them harder. Let's talk about Barron, the quiet kid, the one nobody really sees much of. People always wondered why he stays so low-key, why the family photos feel off sometimes. He smirked, raising an eyebrow. What if I told you there's a reason for that? A big one. A family secret so wild it could rewrite everything you thought you knew about the Trumps. The laughter died down fast. Whispers spread like wildfire through the rows. Someone in the back muttered, "No way," loud enough for the mics to catch it. Greg fed off it. "Yeah, I see those looks. You're thinking I'm bluffing. I'm not. I've got receipts, and they're coming." He was just about to drop the first real bomb when the studio doors at the side of the stage flew open with a loud bang. Heads snapped around. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Donald Trump himself strode in. No announcement, no music cue, no nothing. Just the man in his signature dark suit, red tie, moving fast like he owned the place. Which, in that moment, he kind of did. The entire energy flipped in a heartbeat. What had been playful tension turned razor-sharp and dangerous. Trump didn't smile. He didn't wave. He just walked straight toward the stage, eyes locked on Greg, jaw set hard. The audience went dead quiet, except for a few shocked, "Oh my gods," under people's breath. Greg froze for half a second, only half, then recovered with a quick tilt of his head. "Well, look who decided to crash the party," he said into the mic, trying to keep his tone light, but everybody could hear the edge underneath. Trump stepped up onto the stage without breaking stride, stopping just a few feet from Greg. No handshake, no small talk. He just stood there, arms folded, staring Greg down like he was sizing up an opponent in a boxing ring. The camera zoomed in tight. You could almost hear hearts pounding. Greg didn't even wait for the shock of Trump's entrance to settle. He turned right back to the audience, mic in hand, like the former president standing there fuming was just part of the set. "All right, folks," he said, voice steady but loaded. "Since the man himself decided to join us, let's not waste time. You wanted proof? Here it comes." The big screens behind him lit up. First came the photos. Grainy, old, clearly pulled from years ago. One showed Ivanka cradling a tiny Barron at what looked like a private family event, her arms wrapped around him tighter than any aunt should. Another had her holding him close while Trump stood off to the side, watching with this weird, intense look. Greg pointed with the clicker. "Check the dates. Look at Ivanka's schedule in 2005 and 2006. Public appearances? Almost zero. Official story says she was working on projects, but insiders tell a different story. He clicked again. A simple timeline popped up. Red bars marking Ivanka's long gaps, green dots for Barron's birth and early months. Then the quotes rolled in. White text on black, anonymous but sharp. She was gone for months at a time. Nobody saw her belly, but the timing lines up. Another, Donald was obsessive about keeping it quiet, said it was family business. The audience sucked in air like they'd been punched. A woman in the third row actually covered her mouth. Greg let it hang for a beat, eyes flicking to Trump, who was still standing there, arms crossed, face getting redder by the second. I know what you're thinking, Greg went on. This is crazy. Tabloid garbage, except I've got more than blurry pics and gossip. He nodded toward the control booth. Roll it. The screen switched to a grainy video feed. A black box with just a voice modulator icon. Anonymous source, Greg said. Former longtime staffer. Didn't want their face shown, but they sent this. A crackly audio clip started playing, loud enough for every speaker in the studio to rattle. Trump's unmistakable voice came through first, angry and low. You can't keep doing this, Ivanka. People are starting to ask questions. Then a woman's voice sounded like Ivanka, strained. Dad, I told you, I handled it. He's safe. Nobody knows. Trump again, sharper. He's my responsibility too. Don't forget that. A baby's cry in the background. Then the clip cut off cold. The studio exploded. Gasps turned into outright shouts. One guy in the back yelled, "What the hell?" A couple people laughed out of pure disbelief, nervous and loud. Others just sat frozen, eyes wide, staring between the screen, Greg, and Trump. Phones were already coming out, people filming the chaos. The energy wasn't playful anymore. It was raw, electric, borderline dangerous. Greg raised a hand, quieting them just enough. I'm not saying this is gospel, he said, calm as ever. But when you put the photos, the timeline, the quotes, and now that audio together, you tell me it doesn't raise questions. He turned slowly toward Trump, who looked ready to snap. Your move, Mr. President. You gonna stand there and say none of this ever happened? Trump's jaw clenched so hard you could see the muscle twitch. Greg just stood there, arms loose at his sides, that same cocky half smile still on his face. Trump couldn't hold it in anymore. The audio clip had barely faded when he lunged for the nearest mic on the stage, yanking it off its stand with a screech that cut through the chaos. His face was beet red, veins popping in his neck as he barked into it. This is bullshit. Barron is my son, mine and Melania's. Not some twisted story you're spinning for clicks. The audience went stone silent for a split second, then murmurs erupted again, folks glancing at each other like they couldn't believe what was unfolding. Trump didn't stop. He jabbed a finger toward Greg, eyes blazing. You're calling this proof? Blurry crap and fake voices? This is a witch hunt, worse than anything the Dems threw at me. He paced a step closer, voice booming over the speakers. You're just a ratings chaser, Gutfeld. Desperate for views, so you drag my family through the mud. Well, guess what? My lawyers are gonna bury you, sue your ass into the ground. The crowd flinched as Trump's arm shot out, pointing right at Greg's chest like he was aiming a gun. You think you're funny? A jealous has-been, that's what you are. Roasting people from your little desk because you can't hack the real world. Greg just stood there, not backing up an inch, but the audience could feel the heat. Some people leaned back in their seats, others whispered, "Oh shit," under their breath. Trump kept rolling, vowing, I'm going to end your career tonight. No more show, no more laughs. You'll be flipping burgers by morning. Laughter bubbled up nervously from a few spots, but most folks looked stunned, phones shaking as they recorded every second. Trump wasn't done. He signaled to someone off stage, and suddenly the screens flickered back to life with his own stuff. A digital family photo album scrolling through happy snaps of him, Melania, and Barron at holidays, birthdays, all that normal family vibe. But before Trump could even narrate the first pick, Greg cut in sharp. "Hold up, Mr. President. Let's not just look. Let's check." He waved toward the wings, and out walked this guy in a button-up shirt, laptop under his arm. A forensic expert Greg had lined up just in case. The expert plugged in quick, projecting one of Trump's photos huge on screen, zooming in on details. "See this shadow here? Inconsistent with the lighting and the pixels around Barron's face? They've been edited. Timestamp doesn't match the metadata." The audience gasped loud now, heads whipping between the screen and Trump, who froze mid-sentence, mouth open like he'd been slapped. Trump stammered for the first time. That's nonsense. These are real, from my own phone." But the expert kept going, pulling up side-by-sides with Greg's blurry shots, highlighting mismatches that made Trump's evidence look fishy as hell. The verbal showdown kicked off right there, Trump yelling over the expert, "You're full of it, fake analysis," while Greg egged it on calm but cutting. "Facts don't lie, Don. Your own pics are blowing up in your face." Trump swung back, words tumbling faster. "This guy's probably on your payroll. Another hoax." But the stammering stuck. He tripped over a couple phrases, repeating "my family," "my real family," as the crowd's murmurs turned to outright buzz. The expert dropped one more bomb. "This edit trace leads back to a pro software used in 2006, right during those absences." Trump looked rattled, face even redder, pointing wildly now at both Greg and the expert. The studio felt like it was about to boil over, every eye glued to the stage as the back and forth got hotter. Everyone waiting to see if Trump would fire back harder. But Greg didn't give him the chance to regroup. He stepped forward, mic steady in his grip, voice cool and even like he was ordering coffee. "Trump can sue me all he wants," he said, eyes locked on the former president. "The truth doesn't care about lawyers." The line landed like a gut punch. The audience froze, not a whisper or shuffle, just dead quiet that made every heartbeat feel loud. Greg didn't rush the next part. He let it build. "Barron deserves to know his real mother is his sister." Boom. The shockwave hit, jaws dropped, eyes bugged out, and the silence cracked into stunned gasps that echoed off the walls. Trump snapped out of it fast, lunging verbally like a cornered animal. "Proof? You got nothing but lies. Show me real evidence, you hack." His voice cracked the air, face twisted in rage as he demanded, "Where's the DNA? The real docs? You're bluffing." The crowd stirred, some nodding along with Trump, others shooting looks at Greg like they were hooked on the drama. Greg didn't flinch. He reached under his desk and pulled out a thick envelope, holding it up high. "Funny you ask," he shot back. "Got this from a whistleblower last week. Alleged DNA report, straight from a lab tech who couldn't stay quiet." He ripped it open dramatically, waving the papers as the screen zoomed in on fake but convincing charts showing paternity matches that pointed fingers right at Ivanka and Trump. The audience lost it. Uproar hit like a wave, shouts of "No way!" mixing with disbelieving laughs and a few boos aimed at the stage. Trump roared over the noise. "That's forged! Total fake! My family's clean. You're the one twisting everything." But Greg pressed, reading off highlights from the report. 99.9% match? Come on, Don, explain that away." The back and forth exploded, Trump jabbing the air, yelling about conspiracies, while Greg stayed planted, countering every swing with calm facts from the pages. The energy ramped up, phones flashing everywhere as people captured the meltdown. Then, out of nowhere, the control booth buzzed. A producer's voice cut in, "We got a call coming through. It's Ivanka." The screen split, and there she was, video feed popping up live, her face serious but composed. "Dad, I'm here. This is ridiculous. Barron's my brother, not my kid. Greg, you're crossing lines for ratings." The studio buzzed louder, everyone leaning in as Ivanka defended hard. "Our family's been through enough attacks. This audio, these photos, manipulated garbage." But then she slipped, big time. I was there for Baron's birth. I'm handling things while after the complications. Greg's eyes lit up. He pounced quick. Handling things? Like covering up an affair timeline from 2005? We've got emails here tying you to secret meetings with Dad, right around conception dates. He flashed a new slide. Redacted emails with dates that matched the absences, hinting at a hidden fling. Ivanka stuttered, "That's not... You twisted my words." Trump jumped in, shouting over her, "Ivanka, hang up! It's a trap!" But she fired back at Greg. "You're lying. Those emails are fake." Greg countered smooth. "Then why do the timestamps match your project's vanishing act?" The three-way blew up, accusations flying like bullets. Trump bellowed, "You're both ganging up on us. This show's done." Ivanka snapped, "Greg, you'll regret this, and our lawyers are watching." Greg held firm. "Regret the truth? Nah, let's air it all." The audience was on fire now, chanting, "Proof! Proof!" As the argument spiraled, Ivanka slipped, turning the whole thing into a family implosion, right on live TV. Trump looked wild-eyed, pounding the desk. Ivanka's feet glitched from her frustration. Greg just nodded along, letting their slips pile up, the tension so thick. Then Trump looked like he was about to blow a gasket, face purple, fists clenched at his sides. He spun toward the exit, barking over his shoulder, "I'm done with this circus. You people can rot with your fake news." The audience gasped as he took 2 heavy steps toward the side door, security already tensing up like they expected him to bolt. But halfway there, he stopped dead, shoulders heaving, then whipped back around so fast the lights caught the sweat on his forehead. "No, one more thing," he growled, marching right back to center stage. "You want stories? I'll give you stories. When Baron was born, I was in the room. Melania was in pain, screaming my name. I held her hand the whole time. That's my boy, not this garbage you're peddling." Greg tilted his head, calm as ice in the middle of the blaze. "That's sweet, Don. Real touching. Except..." He clicked the remote, and a new slide popped up. Hospital records timeline, dates circled in red. Public logs show you were at a golf tournament in Florida the day Baron was born. Flight manifests, photos from the course, even a tweet you posted that afternoon bragging about your swing. So how exactly were you holding Melania's hand if you were 3 states away? The crowd erupted, half laughing in disbelief, half groaning like they'd just watched a punchland square. Trump opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. I flew back early. Private jet. Nobody saw." Greg didn't miss a beat. "Private jet logs are public too when you file with the FAA. No record. Want to try that anecdote again?" Trump's voice cracked on the rebuttal, stumbling over, "It was classified." And the audience could see the cracks forming. He was losing the room, and he knew it. Greg stayed planted, not raising his voice, just letting the contradictions pile up like bricks. Then he nodded toward the wings again. "We're not done yet. Ladies and gentlemen, someone who was actually there." A woman in her late 40s stepped out, plain clothes, nervous but determined, holding a folder. "Former housekeeper for the Trump family, 2004 to 2008, Greg announced. "Sworn affidavit right here." She walked straight to the desk, voice shaking a little but clear. "I overheard conversations. Late nights, Mr. Trump and Ivanka in the study. He said, 'We can't let this get out. The boy stays with Melania. You stay quiet.' She cried sometimes, said she wanted to hold him more." The woman laid the affidavit down, pages trembling. "I signed this yesterday. It's all true." Gasps rolled through the rows like thunder. Phones lit up brighter than the stage lights. Trump lunged for the folder like it was on fire. "Give me that," he roared, snatching it and ripping the pages in half with one violent tear, pieces fluttering to the floor. The audience screamed, some in shock, some cheering the drama. Security rushed in fast, 2 big guys stepping between them, hands up but not grabbing yet. Trump stood there breathing hard, shredded paper in his fists, glaring daggers. Greg didn't blink. Nice move, he said, quietly. But we've got backups. He hit a button, and the screens exploded with high-res scans of the exact same affidavit, every page, every signature, crystal clear and time-stamped. Digital copies, notarized, already sent to outlets. You can tear paper all night. The words stay. The crowd went feral. Chanting started low in the back rows. Truth, truth, truth. Then built until half the studio was on their feet, roaring it. Trump's shoulders slumped for the first time. He looked smaller under those lights. He tried one last swing, voice hoarse now. Look, maybe I wasn't perfect back then. I made mistakes. Business was crazy. Family stuff got messy. But this crosses every line. It was the closest he'd come to admitting anything. A tiny, unrelated crack about his past chaos that made him seem almost human for a split second. But it backfired hard. The audience heard weakness, not strength. Boos mixed with the chants now, and Trump faltered visibly, eyes darting like he finally realized the room had turned. Greg just watched, arms folded, that steady gaze saying everything. The peak had hit, and the explosion was still rippling. Security hovered, ready to pull Trump if he lunged again, but he just stood there, chest heaving. The chants of "Truth, truth" were still echoing off the studio walls. The torn affidavit scraps scattered like confetti on the stage floor. Security had finally eased back a step, but nobody was relaxed. Every eye stayed glued to the two men facing off in the center of the chaos. Trump stood there, breathing heavy, fists still clenched around bits of paper, looking like a bull that just realized the ring was bigger than he thought. Greg, meanwhile, hadn't moved an inch. He let the noise crest, then slowly raised a hand. The crowd quieted just enough for his voice to cut through clean. He looked straight into the camera, that half smile back but sharper now. "Well, folks," he said, voice steady and low. "I think we've seen enough tonight to know one thing. Sometimes the biggest secrets hide in plain sight." No big dramatic pause. He didn't need it. The line landed like a mic drop anyway. The audience exploded. Cheers ripped from one side of the room, boos from the other. But even the boos had respect in them. People were on their feet, clapping hard for the sheer nerve of the guy who'd just stared down Donald Trump and didn't blink. Phones were everywhere, capturing the moment from every angle. Greg gave a small nod, like he'd said his piece. And that was that. Trump didn't stick around for the applause. He shot one last glare at Greg. Pure fire, no words. Then turned and stormed toward the exit. Security flanked him quick, but he shoved past like they weren't even there. The door slammed behind him, the sound echoing like a gunshot. The studio lights dimmed a fraction as the control room cut to black, theme music kicking in late and awkward. But nobody was leaving their seats yet. Whispers turned to full-on arguments in the aisles. Did that really just happen? He tore it up! Greg didn't back down once. The energy didn't fade. It spread, buzzing out through the doors as people filed out, already texting, tweeting, calling friends. This wasn't ending with the credits. Cut to a shaky handheld clip that surfaced online minutes later, post-show, in the hallway just outside the green room. A neutral journalist from one of the big cable networks had caught Trump before he could vanish into his car. The camera was right in his face. Mike thrust forward. "Mr. President, care to respond to what just aired? The affidavit, the DNA claims, Ivanka's slip on the call. People are saying this could be explosive." Trump stopped cold, spun around, eyes narrowing. "Explosive? It's garbage, all of it. Fake affidavits, fake DNA, fake everything." His voice cracked higher than usual, the anger still raw. The journalist pressed, "But you admitted mistakes tonight. Family stuff got messy. What does that mean exactly?" Trump's jaw worked like he was chewing on the question. "It means nothing. I've got the best family, perfect family. Melania, Barron, Ivanka, they're loyal. This is a setup to hurt me." But then he slipped deeper. "Look, back in the day things were complicated. Business, travel, the press always twisting it. But I never I never crossed that line. The pause hung too long. The journalist jumped on it. Crossed what line, sir? You just said you never crossed it. People are going to read into that. Trump's face twisted. You're twisting my words now. Typical media. I'm done. He jabbed a finger at the camera, nearly knocking the mic away, then shoved past the crew and disappeared down the hall. The clip ended with the journalist turning to the lens, eyebrows up. You heard it here first. Within the hour, that video was everywhere. Clipped, memed, dissected on every platform. Hashtags blew up. Late-night shows were already teeing up reaction segments. Greg's line about secrets hiding in plain sight kept looping in people's heads, and Trump's offstage meltdown only fueled it more. The night didn't end when the lights went out. It just kept burning, brighter and hotter long after the studio went dark. If you find this video captivating, dramatic, and want to watch until the very end, don't forget to subscribe to the channel now. Press the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episodes, where the drama explodes even more, the climaxes are even more intense, and the revealing moments will leave you speechless.